Good evening, Whitemarsh. I would like to call our Township Board of Supervisors meeting for October 13th, 2022 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Fran, do you have a couple announcements to begin with?
Yes, thanks, Laura. The Township's curbside leaf vacuum collection program begins Monday, October 17th, and runs through the week of December 2nd. Residents are asked to pile their leaves curbside. Leaves are not to be bagged. Please remember to remove all sticks and debris from leaf piles for the safety of Public Works employees. Well Street cleanup on Saturday, October 15th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Come and join our team of Enviroteers and help continue to restore this naturally beautiful area to a space that everyone in Whitemarsh Township can enjoy. All Enviroteers will be provided with a Whitemarsh Township Enviroteer shirt, tools, trash bags, and gloves. Long pants and long sleeves are recommended. Teeny Halloweeny, a treat for children ages 2 to 6, is this Tuesday, October 18th. It's music, games, snacks, and more. Pre-registration by October 14th is required. Call Parks and Recreation or register on the Township website. And finally, Drug Take-Back Day. Unused and expired prescription drugs can be disposed of at the Police Department on Saturday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. as part of the National Drug Take-Back Day. Thank you.
Thanks. JC, did you have a couple comments?
Yes, I actually wanted to put out a special thank you. So on September 24th, we had our second ever tree giveaway with the Township. We gave away 250 trees. It was a really big event, and I really want to thank so many of the volunteers that we had who went out and tagged the trees initially, people from the Shade Tree Commission, the EAB, our arborist, the day before, cutting protective fencing and organizing stakes and ties, and the actual day of, people would drive up, and we'd put trees right in their cars. At one point, we had 30 cars back on Germantown Pike, which I know some folks weren't happy about, but it was really exciting to see how much enthusiasm there was for this. And I want to thank those day of volunteers, Jim Tone, Gerhardt from Sustainable Land Solutions, Christian Fassbender and Dave Diamore from the Shade Tree Commission, and Karen Kabnick and Deborah Harris from the EAB, as well as Sean Halbaum, our former assistant township manager. And really, thank you to the residents for your enthusiasm for collecting. We gave away all of the trees, and we even had responses of people showing us pictures of trees planted in their yard. So I want to thank everybody. It was a really exciting event.
Thank you, JC. It really is exciting, and I think it doesn't matter what vehicle you may have. So next year, I think, wasn't there
There was a VW Bug, and we made it work.
Yeah. So doesn't matter what vehicle you have.
Just people came
Participate.
in whatever they had. It worked out.
It's really amazing. Thank you for sharing the thanks. So we have more people in the room tonight, which is exciting, and I appreciate everybody attending, and we're going to recognize our own local heroes. Just over a year ago, it's hard to believe in some ways, and yet I'm sure many are still really involved in continuing recovery from the tropical storm Ida. So tonight we're going to recognize those that were involved in helping and continue to help the recovery efforts. I'm going to start with our fire departments. So this, I'm going to read, applies to both Spring Mill Fire Company and Barron Hill Fire Company. We would like to thank the Township, and the Board of Supervisors would like to thank Spring Mill and Barron Hill Fire Company for their response to Tropical Storm Ida on September 1st, 2021. During this event that lasted for multiple days, agencies handled over 100 calls of service in one night alone, including dozens of water rescues. The men and women of the fire companies show dedication to the safety of our community while handling unprecedented flooding and tornadoes. So thank you both to fire companies. And then we can, I guess, applaud all at one time at the end, maybe? To our Whitemarsh Community Ambulance Association, we thank them also for the same, for over 100 calls in one night, and helping with the staying dedicated to the safety of our community while handling the flooding and the tornado. And our police department, they also and continue to have ongoing response to help support those in the recovery effort. Multiple calls throughout the night. That time, again, still continues to, everybody's still recovering from this. And along with our Public Works Department. So everybody is here. If you could all stand, and we would like to applaud you. So our fire department, yeah.
Come up and a representative from each would take a picture. That would be wonderful. Nick.
We're gonna have to stay here.
Thank you.
I'm trying to keep this moving along because we have more to do. So I'm going to turn it now over because we're recognizing our fire companies' years of recognition of their service. We have many that have dedicated a long time.
All right. You know what? I think I'll come down here for this. What do you think, Rick? Is this easier if I come?
Yeah, and maybe if you just go to that microphone, that would be great so they folks can hear you.
Hello, board. Fran McCusker, Indian Guide Road. I'd like to first thank everybody for their dedication and service to Whitemarsh Township. And we're going to do the years of service for the fire departments. We'll start with Barron Hill. So first we'll have 5 years of dedicated services. Pablo Leyva. All right, 1 for 1.
There's a couple.
Anybody want to get it for him?
I'll take it with you.
Okay. 25 years of service, Joseph Bucky Switer. There you go. Thanks. 30 years of service, Jay Jablikoff. Thank you. 35 years of service, Don White. 40 years of service, Craig Walter.
Nice.
All right. 45 years of service, Jim Bear. Did you get them too? All right. Very good. 45 years of service, Paul Stanish. Now we're going to switch over to Spring Mill. 10 years of service, Juan Contreras. 15 years of service, Joe Heil. 20 years of service, Vince Messantonio. 25 years of service, Jeff Heil. 30 years of service, John Warner. 35 years of service, Ann Waters. 55 years of service, Marvin Haynes. Congratulations, everybody. Picture time.
Everybody. All right, everybody's got to get tighten up here. Come on, tighten it up. Let's go.
Tighter.
Two. Congratulations. Good.
Congratulations.
You are all more than welcome to hang out all evening. But should you so choose to leave, that is okay as well. Thank you all for your service. It would be good to get a collective number total. It'd be a lot. So while everybody is filtering out, we'll just tackle the minutes quickly. Do I have a motion to approve or adopt the minutes from September 8th, 2022?
So moved.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple discussion items before us tonight. The first is the review of the subdivision land development 09-18, which is 601 Washington Street Associates, LP 601 Washington Street. This is a conditional preliminary plan for a 270-unit apartment complex. We're going to share screen here for anybody who's attending virtually.
We'll turn it to Mr. Guttenplan in 1 second.
As soon as
here.
we take care of technical
Not a
issues,
problem.
We're on a roll today with technology.
This is your chance to get a
Yes,
drink of water,
I gotta get there first.
take a break.
I will start to talk while I do this, which is really something probably impossible for me, but I will try. This is a project at 601 Washington Street. This is an apartment development of 270 units. And there is a little bit of history I just want to go through so everybody's clear about where we are with this project. This is, okay, sorry. Like I said, I can't talk and do this at the same time.
It's all, no worries, Charlie, take your time.
Okay. This project originally was in front of the zoning hearing board back in 2019 for a different project for another same number of units, but it was a different design. The zoning hearing board turned the relief down. The applicant appealed the zoning hearing board's decision. The Common Pleas Court reversed the zoning hearing board on 2 issues, which has the effect of allowing them to develop in the floodplain. All the other relief was confirmed by the Common Pleas Court and was not changed. So they came back with a project that only relies upon those 2 variances that they needed to build in the floodplain, and they came in with a compliant plan that did not need any other relief. And that's the plan that you're going to be hearing about this evening. Again, it's still 270 units on just over 9 acres. And if this is approved, the applicant has testified publicly that they would withdraw the appeal, which is currently pending and on hold at Commonwealth Court. This was before the Planning Commission on 2 occasions. They were in front of the Planning Commission on April 26th of this year, and after discussing the project, the Planning Commission asked the applicant to go back and do a bit more homework on emergency evacuation and wanted a little bit more information on the environmental history and remediation that had been done on the project and 1 or 2 other details. So they came back on July 26th to the Planning Commission, and after reviewing the revisions and the additional information, the Planning Commission passed 2 motions, 1 to recommend approval of the waivers and 1 to recommend approval of the preliminary plan. So that's where we are at this point. There's the preliminary plan for 270 units is what's in front of you this evening. And I'm going to introduce Ed Campbell, the attorney representing the project, and he has a few words he would like to say about the project.
Thank you, Mr. Goodplan. Good evening. My name is Ed Campbell, and I represent the applicant. Here to my right, this motley crew behind me, I suppose, is our project team. Project manager is Kevin Kyle. Chris Garrett is our landscape engineer. Rick Roseberry is our site civil. Brad Garrison is our traffic engineer. And Mike Buckley, thanks, is our project architect. So I'm not going to call them up unless you have specific questions that they might have greater expertise in. Mr. Goodplan did a very good job of describing the project. It's on the screen now. He is correct that we submitted a plan very similar to this back in 2019 that needed some zoning relief. The significant difference between that plan and this plan is that the building was further removed from Washington Street, and that triggered some Balkan area requirements variances, right? Because we were a little bit further away from Washington Street than the code would otherwise require. A few other things related to that. We were in front of the zoning hearing board. We went up to the Court of Common Pleas. The Court of Common Pleas versed the zoning hearing board on 2 of the 6 issues relating primarily to floodplain, and affirmed the zoning hearing board with the other 4. So we came back and redesigned the plan to comply with the court's order. It is true that there is another appeal on the Commonwealth Court level that will be withdrawn in the event that we're approved and get preliminary approval. So that plan was essentially the same plan. So it was seen twice by the Planning Commission this year, and it had significant review by the zoning hearing board back in 2019. The significant difference is that the parking has shifted from between the building and Washington Street to behind the building. The significant elements of the plan, I think, are the fact that it's on the riverfront, that there will be a significant, can't use the pointer on this, a significant development of the riverfront. You see the trail, the Red Shell Macadam Trail that's there. Thank you, Charlie. And significant landscape features that will be maintained. Access is off of Washington Street. We work with the Planning Commission and work with your staff to try to eliminate or remove some of the requested waivers. There are a handful of waivers that are left that have been recommended by the Planning Commission. Site's 9 acres. I don't want to trespass on your time. If you have specific questions, I think I would be more effective in answering them or calling my team up to answer those questions.
I actually wouldn't mind if you went through the waivers. I think we tend to do that. It just makes it a little clearer.
That's fine.
Especially this is your first time before everybody.
Yes, that's fine. So if you have, I don't know if you have the draft.
There's a resolution from them.
Right. So from section 105-30A is a request for a waiver to have Washington Street be only 30 feet in width. So we can widen it on our side of the street, but we can't widen it on the other side of the street. And so your code would require the cart width to be 36 feet. Cart width will be widened and the road will be substantially improved on our frontage, but we can't get to the full 36 feet because that's land on the other side of the road that we don't control. The waiver from 39A, from section 105-39A, is a request to utilize shrubs in place of 3-inch caliber trees where the code requires 3-inch caliber trees in the parking lot. And we're asking to, not a complete waiver of that, but for a handful of those trees to use shrubs instead of 3-inch caliber trees at a ratio of 6-to-1, if my recollection is correct. So for every 3-inch caliber tree that the code would require, we're asking instead to plant 6 shrubs.
And what does that do? How does that help?
Well, it helps with the design of the parking area because they're required per parking space.
For spacing?
Yep. The waiver at 47.K.2. So your ordinance requires access points to the river for reasons that I don't understand. It requires that they be no closer than 500 feet from each other. And the way the site lays out, the access points, the pedestrian access points coming off of Washington Street to the river are about 560, 570 feet apart. They're more than 500 is the point. And I don't understand, I don't know the planning value of why the code required them to be within 500 feet, but I think it's a de minimis request. 105-48E is a request for a waiver for the sidewalk verge requirements. So you have a requirement that you've got sidewalks and a verge between sidewalk and a road, and that verge be landscaped or green. And our request for a waiver is to have relief from some of those components so that the streetscape is identical to the other streetscapes that are, and consistent with the developments that are immediately adjacent to that area. So we're asking for the flexibility to deviate from that standard so that the development remains consistent with other development on Washington Street. 105-52 is a request for a reduction in the width of the buffer. There is a requirement that there be a 50-foot buffer, 30 or 50 foot? 50-foot buffer along the perimeter of the property. And we, through the planning process, redesign what I would suppose is the western side of the property to broaden or widen the buffer and articulate it with pedestrian access and additional landscaping. But I believe it's 30 feet instead of 50?
It's 15 planted, and a 10-foot sidewalk
Right.
area.
So 25 feet instead of a 50-foot buffer along that side. That is the side where the Heinz Rowing Center is immediately adjacent to that. You have the 6th waiver we request is for permission to grade within 5 feet of the property's perimeter. You have an ordinance requirement which prohibits someone from grading earth or disturbing earth within 5 feet of the perimeter. In it's just not practical in a lot of senses for this development. For example, the walking trail needs to meet the property sides. The landscaping that's going to go in, the stormwater that's going to go in there, the sidewalk and the buffering require disturbance of the earth within 5 feet of the property boundaries. And then there are 3 waivers from relating to your tree shade ordinance, if my recollection is correct. And I don't have them at my fingertips. Got to give me a minute to pull them up. I think the only thing that Charlie missed was the fact that we've been in front of the planning commission, in front of the Shade Tree Commission, and they have a memo, which I presume you have, which makes certain recommendations in relation to those requests, and we don't object to those recommendations. So those 3 waivers.
Do you need me to read them, Ed? I have them in front of me.
Yeah, I think they're all from the same section, 55-4B6.
They are.
And
So 6 is from the requirement that replacement trees be planted to allow 47 of the 132 required 3-inch caliber trees to not be planted, but rather that a fee in lieu of the planting of those trees be accepted as site conditions do not allow for the planting to be installed in a reasonable manner is the first one. And then B is section 53-4B6 from the requirement that no more than 30% of the replacement trees be ornamental trees to allow 31% of the proposed replacement trees to be ornamental trees. And then C, section 55-4B6 again, from the stated replacement tree planting requirements to allow the use of 8-foot to 10-foot high ornamental trees, 8-foot to 10-foot high evergreen trees, 24-inch to 30-inch high shrubs, 1 gallon ground covers, and 1.25-inch by 2.5-inch plugs to count toward the required replacement plantings.
Thank you, Sean. So our landscape architect is here if you have more specific questions, but I think the schematic that's on the screen shows that there is a pretty intense effort to landscape the site, and to effectively and efficiently do that, we're asking for flexibility from those provisions. And to the extent that the Shade Tree Commission has made a recommendation in their memo, we would accept that as a condition if you were to approve it.
And you're in agreement with the fee in lieu of for the 47 to 132?
We are. We're in agreement for the fee in lieu. There's also a traffic impact fee and an open space fee. The ordinance as proposed requires my client to pay it and allows the township to use those funds at its discretion.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, I believe there have been no objection from staff for any of these waivers, right?
That's
Fine.
correct.
That's right.
Can you share a little bit about what the units, like are these 1 or 2 bedroom units?
Yep, I'm going to ask our architect to step up and give you the unit mix. So, Mike?
Hello, I'm Mike Buckley, the architect from JKRP Architects. You asked about the units.
There's a breakdown. How many 1-bedrooms, how many 2-bedrooms? What's their size?
Yeah, so there's 24 studio units, 150 one-bed units, 80 two-bed units, and then 14 three-bed units. So that gets to 270.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm good.
Do you have any questions? Any board? Patrice, did you have any questions? Okay. Thank you. Do we have any public comments? We don't have anything on virtual. Okay, seeing none, it seems like everybody is ready to move this forward. So, do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-25, granting conditional preliminary plan approval for the subdivision land development number 09-18, which is 601 Washington Street Associates LP, 601 Washington Street, for a 270-unit apartment complex.
So moved.
And Chair Boyle-Nestor, I just want to confirm that also includes just all waivers, just so it's clear. for the
Includes all
record.
waivers,
Granted.
correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller, would you mind calling the roll?
Sure. Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Terine?
Yes.
Chair Nestor?
Yes. Thank
very
you.
much. That concludes our business. May we be excused?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Good evening.
Have a good evening. Okay, our second public discussion item tonight is a review of the subdivision land development number 0422, which is the Ashford Consulting LLC and Ashford Wealth Advisors LLC, 515 Germantown Pike. This is a conditional preliminary and final plan. Charlie?
Let me again just give a very short
Charlie, you have to share,
introduction, and
you have to share your screen, Charlie.
I was.
It's not coming up.
I'm not sharing? Hit share. My apologies. Yeah, I know.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on here. This is a project on Germantown Pike at 5 and 15 Germantown Pike. It's a minor land development, a preliminary and final minor land development. There are basically two major things happening here. One is that at 15 East Germantown, there's going to be renovation of the historic building there and an addition put on the historic building. And the building will then be used for offices for the applicant, similar to the offices that they have at 5 East Germantown Pike. I should have said in the beginning that the applicant is Ashford Consulting LLC and Ashford Wealth Advisors LLC. And there is a small parking lot on 5 East Germantown that currently serves the offices at 5. The parking lot is being expanded so that it will serve not only the offices at 5, but the expanded building on 15, which will also, as I said, hold offices for the applicant. It's in the VC2 district. It's also in the Plymouth Meeting Historic District. And you may remember that last month, the board passed a hold harmless agreement for this project, recognizing that currently everything there is pretty much in the ultimate right of way, and that's going to remain so, obviously, with the changes. So we're now looking at the land development plan, which the Planning Commission looked at twice also, originally on April 12th. And after discussing the project, they asked the applicant to go back to the HARB and to Shade Tree Commission. They've been to HARB several times for informal reviews. The Planning Commission wanted them to go back to HARB with the refined design that they had at that time and get HARB's comments on that design, which they did, and HARB was favorable to what is being presented here. And then they also went to the Shade Tree Commission for approval of the landscape plan, which they did receive. So they came back to the Planning Commission on September 27th, and the Planning Commission recommended the waivers that are being proposed, including the waiver for doing the preliminary and the final at the same time because it's a minor land development, and also that the plan as presented should be approved. And those were the two that we have. And I think in the audience we have Jim Banyan, the engineer, and he can go through his presentation, hopefully without any technical glitches from me.
Thank you, Charlie. My name is Jim Bannon from Nave Knoll. We're the civil engineering consultants on the project. Rosie Soto, the business manager at Ashford Wealth, who's usually at these meetings, wasn't able to attend, but she
She's
is
here.
on Zoom if you
Yep.
have any operational questions for her.
Thank you.
So as Charlie said, 5 East Germantown would be the property building on the left. That's their existing offices. 15 is the building on the right. And the gray area in the center is the current parking lot.
The pointer doesn't work on these screens.
Oh, it doesn't?
You can change the slides, but you can't point.
It's changing on Zoom, but not on the TV.
Okay, I wasn't able to change it first either. Okay, so here is I'm not seeing on this screen what you're seeing there.
Really? I'm sharing the screen and I don't know how to, this won't.
Charlie, unshare it and then reshare it.
Okay.
Sometimes this happens. Are you maybe sharing the PowerPoint instead of sharing your screen? I know I've had problems with that before.
That's right. Now we're good.
Are we now all seeing it? Thank
Yep.
you.
There we go. Thank you. So here's our proposed site plan. As Charlie said, it's essentially a building addition to 15 East Germantown Pike, shown here in gray. And we're reconfiguring the parking lot to serve both buildings. We're adding a total of 7 parking spaces. So it's going from 17 to 24. We did receive zoning relief for that layout. We're also adding 1 accessible parking space. You see that just west of 5 East Germantown Pike. There's an accessible pedestrian connection between both buildings. And we're also adding 2 electrical vehicle charging stations shown basically just north of the striped access aisle in the parking area. Well, here's the proposed landscaping and stormwater. Obviously, we know stormwater is always a big concern in the township. There's no existing stormwater on the site, so we're proposing this underground system that essentially is designed to hold the 100-year storm. It will eventually infiltrate that volume over a period of less than 7 days, which is allowed by the DEP. That time does require a waiver from the township standards. That's one of the waivers we requested, but it does meet the state standards. Currently, there's no stormwater, like I said. So runoff basically comes down Germantown Pike, kind of goes in the existing driveway, and just flows to Abolition Hall site behind this site. So we think this is a big improvement. The proposed parking lot is curved. It'll stop that runoff and just sheet flowing onto the adjacent property. And landscaping, again, as Charlie said, we worked with the Shade Tree Commission and the Township Arborist to come up with this layout, which they were happy with. They wanted a layered look, which was basically taller trees in the back with a lot of underplantings. So we gave that to them. And then we also have, you can see, pretty heavy screening from the parking area from Germantown Pike. I think that's the basic summary. If anyone has any questions or anything you would like to review.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions, comments?
Question about the stormwater management. You said that it will hold a 100-year storm if we have greater rainfall. Is there an overflow, outflow, single point discharge, and if so, where does that go?
So it is designed to hold the volume of a 100-year storm, and that volume will infiltrate in less than 7 days. If something greater than a 100-year storm hits, this was one of the comments in the engineer's first review letter, is It's a little hard to see, but to the left of the underground system, towards the rear of the site, there's an inlet there. And basically it's designed so if we have more than a 100-year storm, the volume above that 100-year storm will basically perk out of that inlet and just kind of sheet flow off the rear of the property. Essentially, same place it's going in the existing condition.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other board questions? I need to find Patrice here. You're good? Okay. Thank you. Do we have any public comments? Come on up, please.
Good evening, Sidell Zove, Harts Ridge Road. I've been following this project from inception, all the way back to the zoning hearing board review, HARB, Shade Tree, Planning Commission, back to the Planning Commission. So I'm quite familiar with the details and have commented along the way, particularly at HARB meetings on design issues. And I am pleased that some of my suggestions were incorporated with regard to design. However, I have 5 concerns that I'd like to bring to your attention. I reviewed the packet that was distributed with all the various iterations of review letters and responses. And I am confused about a couple of items. One is the township engineer, in reviewing the plans, noted in her letter, which is available in your packet on page 1460, noting that the fence, the rear fence, and the shed, and those are located between this property and the Corson homestead, are actually located on the Corson homestead property. And in response to the concern, the applicant indicated that the fence and the shed will be removed or relocated. But elsewhere in the packet, in other documents, it indicates, the applicant has indicated that the fence will remain, as will the hedgerow. So I'm confused about the status of that fence, the existing fence. Shall I go through my list of comments and questions, or wait for a response to each? How do you want to approach this?
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay. There's been significant discussion both at HARB and at the Planning Commission and at the Shade Tree Commission about the historic hairpin fencing along Germantown Pike. Hairpin, so-called because of its shape, which is curved at the top. It's an iron fence, dates to the 1800s at some point. There is a long length of it, primarily in front of the parking lot, the existing parking lot, but there are a few sections close to 15 East Germantown Pike. At the HARB meetings, Ms. Soto said that the hairpin fencing would be retained. That was also the case. I can't remember if it was the engineer or someone else representing the applicant at the Shade Tree Commission meeting indicated that the fence would remain. And there was discussion at the most recent Planning Commission meeting about that hairpin fencing. And one of the commission members recommended that any fencing that is in bad shape be restored, and Ms. Soto agreed to that. I don't know whether that has made it into the documents in any place. There's various references to hairpin fencing. There is one specific reference on sheet C2 in the notes. It's note number 18. And it says that the hairpin fencing will be preserved to the greatest degree practical. But that's not what the applicant stated before Planning Commission, Shade Tree Commission, and HARB. And specifically, the Planning Commission meeting, there was discussion about the entire fencing, the entire length of fencing, not just the piece in front of the parking lot, but the sections closest to 15 East. So I wanted to bring that to your attention and request that, as a condition of your approval, you recommend or you state that not just that the fencing will be preserved to the greatest extent practical, but that it will be preserved. There is a note and there is evidence in the decision and findings of fact of the zoning hearing board that one of the conditions of their approval, and this is, you can see this on sheet C1, page 1378 of the packet. It is a condition that that there's to be a screening buffer along the rear to meet this at the satisfaction of the Board of Supervisors. So I wanted to draw that to your attention, a screening buffer along the rear as a condition of the zoning hearing board's approval of the variances that have already been granted. My understanding is that there is no planting along the rear of the parking lot because the applicant says there's no place to put such screening. However, it was a condition of the zoning hearing board's approval. Also, and when Charlie introduced the plan this evening, he said that the Planning Commission approved the plan in its entirety. However, there was a condition imposed by the Planning Commission. I was there and heard it very clearly, and that was that there be additional geotechnical testing to confirm the capacity of the stormwater management system to infiltrate as it will. Slowly, but it will infiltrate. As we all know, there's significant limestone in the area, limestone soils. In fact, the Quaker Meeting House diagonally across the Pike and Butler Pike had 2 sinkholes developed recently, which they filled. And it is my understanding that the real estate office across Germantown Pike, I believe it's Salamone is the name, also had sinkholes in the rear there. So although the applicant has said that there's no evidence of sinkholes in the immediate area based on a review of the geotechnical studies that were done by Kay Hovnanian for the Corson homestead, there is real-time evidence of recent sinkhole activity. The Quaker Meeting House sinkholes occurred within the last 6 months. So I think that it is prudent to make as a condition of your approval, as the Planning Commission did, that there be additional geotechnical testing, and perhaps Krista can elaborate on what that would look like. There was some testing, but she has recommended additional testing, and the Planning Commission concurred as a condition of its approval. And then, let's see, I believe those are, one more point. It's a question, actually. On page 1594 of your packet, in the very brief geotechnical testing report, in the appendix on sheet 1 of 2 is a notation with a star, and it says POI-1, point of interest 1, with no further explanation. And I wondered, what is that? Because it appears to be either on the Corson Homestead property or straddling the property line between 5 East and the Corson Homestead. So I would ask that there be some explanation of what that point of interest is. So just to recap, the rear fence and shed being moved or staying where they are, a screening buffer to meet the requirement of the zoning hearing board's approval of the variances, that was a condition, a commitment on the part of the applicant to retain and repair the full length of existing hairpin fencing, including that which is present along the parking lot, as well as the pieces that are closest to 15 East. the additional geotechnical testing as recommended by the Planning Commission based on statement from the Township's engineer, and then an explanation for what that point of interest is. Thank you.
Thank you. I realize this has been through Planning Commission and zoning and shade tree and the HARB. So I know it's been very vetted through, but to be diligent but brief, would you, Krista, and would you mind just briefly commenting, about these 5 points, the shed and the fence,
About the shed and the fence?
plans for them?
So the shed, it's kind of hard to see. I think it's removed. It goes over the property line. It happens over years. A fence gets moved a foot here and there. The applicant agreed to move that, so it's totally on their property line. As far as the fence, we weren't proposing to move that. It was going to stay as is. I don't know if we have any evidence that it's actually Ashford Wells fence. Maybe it was put on by Abolition Hall. I'm not sure moving that fence gains anything. We were just going to leave it where it is. If it happens to not be right on the property line, again, that's kind of an issue between two property owners. One of them may soon be the Township. We weren't planning on doing anything with that. If the Township would like something different, we could certainly discuss it.
Okay. And the hairpin fencing?
Well, one comment about keeping the fence. You can see it a little bit in this picture. Mm-hmm. Yes, we agreed to keep that. It's worked into our design. The tree plantings are behind that fence, but it's impossible to keep all of it. It's not, I don't think there's a better picture, but no, there's not. You can see it a little bit here. That tree is actually through the fence. So at the Planning Commission meeting, what happened was Ms. Soto agreed that that's going to have to come down to remove. Right now, that tree is just stumped at the top of the fence, but she agreed to replace in kind any part that does have to come down. But obviously, we can't save a part of the fence that's through a tree, but she did agree to replace it.
Could that be handled with requesting a note on the plan that's recorded to that effect? Or added to the resolution? What would be the preference, Sean?
I think the easiest thing would be to add something like that to the resolution, if you were amenable to that.
Sure.
Okay.
And that would be something along the lines of, so I can state it correctly, with the addition of a commitment to replacing the hairpin fence related to the tree.
I guess, yes. So we'll add that into the resolution. He already agreed, so.
Okay. 3 was mentioned the buffer along the back and plantings. Are there any plantings along the back?
So this plan shows our proposed landscaping, and we're filling in the buffers behind the parking area where we can. There are existing trees behind the proposed parking lot. We're not touching them. Some of them are on the Ashford Wealth property. Some are probably on the Abolition Hall property. We're not proposing, there's no room to put any additional plantings there besides what's existing. We're going to leave what's existing, but we got zoning relief for the back of that parking area is, I think, 3 feet from the property line, which matches the existing. So there's really no room to plant additional trees there, which is why we aren't showing any in this proposed design. Fortunately, I don't have any pictures, but there is a good amount of screening back there existing.
In sections 3 and 4 of the resolution, reference the zoning hearing board decisions and require compliance with them, so it's already incorporated in there.
Thank you.
As is the last point regarding the geotech study that's in number 14, 9014. A for the resolution. And I think there was some discussion today about revising that language.
Right. Yep, the condition to do further cost evaluation is in the resolution.
And the additional language would be that.
It was
Currently,
to the effect that the findings would, any revisions needed to the stormwater system as a result of the findings, the applicant would comply.
Excellent. Good. And then any idea about the POI number 1?
Yeah, so that's just a term in stormwater management. It means point of interest 1. So basically, in existing conditions, that's where the stormwater gets to. So we analyze it in that same location before and after development. So that's just point of interest 1. In this project, that's the only point of interest.
Okay. Thank you. Any other board comments related to that? No? I gotta wait, hold on. I'm gonna get Patrice back up here. There she is. Okay. You're good, Patrice? With any questions? Okay. Any other public comments? I didn't see anybody in there, so I think we're good to go. I'm moving this. So am I not needing to add the additional part about the fence, or I do? Or is
I
that-
believe we'll act as it's been included in the resolution. I don't think you need to necessarily state it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-26, granting conditional preliminary final plan approval for the subdivision land development 04-22, Ashford Consulting LLC and Ashford Wealth Advisors LLC, 5 and 15 Germantown Pike to renovate the existing parking lot and building addition?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Ms. Toll?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Tereen?
yes,
Chair Nestor?
Yes. Great, thank you. Good luck. Thank you. Okay, we have a few motions before us tonight. The first is a advertisement. Do I have a motion to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance amending the local tax collection in accordance with Act 57 of 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Chair Nestor. Act 57 of 2022 requires all municipalities that levy real estate taxes to adopt an ordinance directing their tax collector to implement these provisions. Townships have from today till January 9th to implement this. That's why we're doing it for advertisement this meeting, and then we'll do it for adoption at our next meeting. Act 57 allows taxpayers who fail to receive a tax notice during the first year of occupancy to apply for a waiver from penalties and additional costs from the tax collector. And DCED will have some standard forms available that folks will be able to fill out. So it's a benefit when people move into a new property. People have in the past said, oh, I didn't get my tax bill. Well, shame on you, you still owe it, and you owe all these penalties and interest. This is a way in that first year for them to apply for a waiver. But to do that, we need to adopt this ordinance.
Excellent, thank you. And this is the advertisement for that?
That's correct.
Yep. So any board comments, questions, public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
aye,
Excellent, motion carries. Thank you. Do I have a motion to authorize the expenditure of $22,900 by the Highlands Historical Society for building improvements at the Highlands, 7001 Sheaf Lane?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Chair Nestor. This is a request by the Highlands Historical Society as they are going through, making some improvements to their facilities as part of the agreement of sale. Any requests that they are using monies from the cost that was provided to them for the conservation easement must come before this board for approval. So it is the following two items that they're looking for that amount to $22,900. The first is refinishing the floors in the veranda and repainting the walls and floors. There, the plan includes continuing the checkerboard pattern from the entrance hall through to the veranda. That cost is approximately $12,200. And then repainting the banisters, steps, and risers, and replacing the carpet on the staircase, which is stained and cannot be cleaned. Paint on the staircase is chipped and faded. The staircase plays a prominent role in event photos, but its current condition diminishes its asset. Estimated cost is $10,700. They point out that this is, they have events, fundraisers, so on, there that generates revenue. This is a way to hopefully improve that look in the Highlands house.
Excellent, thank you. Any board comments?
Quick question, were these prices a result of Highlands going out and getting multiple pricing proposals?
I don't know. They did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And do these reflect the low cost or best value, or do you,
According to the board. Yeah.
according to the board,
Yeah.
which lowest cost?
The lowest cost, best value.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Any public comments? Yes.
Sidel Zove. This agenda item reminded me that the Highlands made a commitment to being open and accessible to the public as a condition of the conservation easement and the township's investment in open space. And perhaps Fran McCusker can answer this question, but to what extent has there been some additional wayfinding signage installed, or any effort to make it known to the Whitemarsh Township residents that the property is fully accessible and that there's an investment of open space dollars of a significant amount to protect and preserve the open areas?
They would probably have to do a better job of getting that word out there. That's definitely for sure. Yeah.
And can you bring such a request to the
Absolutely.
board?
And let them know.
To the Highlands Board? I appreciate that, because I've seen nothing, no literature, no news items, and maybe the next issue of Whitemarsh Living could have a big article. But I think wayfinding signage would go a long way in making it more inviting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Do I have a motion to authorize the fee waiver for the Colonial School District in the amount of $1,279.50 in accordance with Chapter A 121 fees F2?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Chair Nestor. This is a request. We receive these requests from time to time from the school district in accordance with our fee waiver code to waive the permit fees associated with some work that is being done. They're proposing to install softball dugouts and a new backstop at Victory Fields. They have their contractor selected. The anticipated permit amount, which was just mentioned, $1,279.50, they're requesting be waived as part of this project.
Great. Any board comments or questions? Any public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Do I have a motion to authorize the escrow release number 3 for Robbins Golf Holdings LLC, 27 East Germantown Pike, in the amount of $61,555.50?
So moved.
Second.
Krista. Good evening. This is the property, actually 2 properties down from the one we reviewed tonight. It's 27 East Germantown. They are requesting a partial release in the amount of $61,555.50. After this release, there would be a remaining escrow balance of $66,679.75. Our office inspected the site and found the improvements to have been constructed in accordance with the plans and recommend the release.
Excellent. Nice to see this moving along. Any board comments or questions? Public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Excellent, motion carries. Do I have a motion to authorize the escrow release number 26 for the reserve at Creekside, Stenton Avenue in the amount of $63,855.96?
So moved.
Second.
This is, was at one time known as Creekside Commons. It's the townhome development over off of Stenton Avenue. This is escrow release request number 26. It is a partial request in the amount of $63,855.96. And after this release, there would be a balance of $335,597.91. Our office inspected the site and found the improvements to have been constructed in accordance with the plan.
Excellent. That's still a significant remaining balance.
It
Is there
is.
a lot more left to do?
No, a lot of this is retainage and contingency. They're pretty much done physical improvements, but now they need to close out their permits and complete punch list items and whatnot.
Okay, good. Good to hear. Any board comments, questions, public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Final one. Do I have a motion to authorize the final escrow release number 2 for Holman-Audi, 432 Pennsylvania Avenue in the amount of $180,738.76?
So moved.
Second.
This is the Audi dealership on Pennsylvania Avenue. They, in theory, have been finished with the work for maybe 2 years at this point. The reason they're finally here for their final escrow release is they got their notice of termination from the NPDES permit. So now we can release their money associated with the stormwater improvements. That amount is $180,738.76. And again, this is the end, so there would be $0 left afterwards. The improvements have been constructed in accordance with the plans, and we recommend this release.
Excellent, thank you. Any board comments or questions? Public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve expenditures totaling $2,711,193.44, payroll totaling $986,230.31, and pension paid costs totaling $9,491.56 for September?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Excellent, motion carries. We are now at the public comment period of our meeting. Yes.
Sidel Zove, I want to say congratulations. I attended the Parks and Rec Board meeting this week and heard that the Carabots $2 million gift has been received. It is in the bank, and that settlement is tentatively scheduled for November 17th, which is just wonderful news. We are inching closer. I guess we're taking a great leap forward at this point. So I hope all goes well, settlement occurs without any glitches, and that we can all celebrate on the 18th of November. Thank you
Thank
for all
you.
of your hard work.
Thank you. And I don't think we have any other attendees virtually, right? Okay. Any board comments? I would like to announce that we did have executive session tonight where we discussed real estate. And I think that was it.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. And good night, Whitemarsh. Take care.